Chapter 262. Looking at the sky, Lu Ming looked calm on the surface, but his heart was in turmoil. Martial Ancestor Realm, I have to break through to Martial Ancestor Realm as soon as possible. I might seem invincible among Martial Grandmasters, but I'm still not strong enough to face Martial Ancestor Realm experts. The day I break through to Martial Ancestor Realm will be the day you die. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with killing intent. Quickly save the injured and clean up the dormitory. The Star General Hall Elder ordered his men. On the side, Huakai's eyes were also filled with killing intent and unwillingness. Someone had openly killed their way into the Star General Hall, destroyed several buildings, killed more than a dozen students, and injured many more. The men he brought with him had the strength to stop the culprit, but they could only watch helplessly as the culprit left. Such humiliation made Huakai's body tremble. After a while, Huakai took a deep breath and walked to Lu Ming's side. "Tianyun, how are your injuries?" "I'm fine." Lu Ming smiled. Although his injuries were not light, they were not fatal. He would recover soon. "I never thought that the 10 Directions Sword faction would dare to openly kill people in the Star General Hall. They're getting more and more lawless. In the past, I would have some scruples," Huakai said. "This time, I have to thank you," Lu Ming said. "Why are you thanking me?" "Lu Ming, I was looking for you for something today, but I didn't expect to run into the incident just now." "Oh, why are you looking for me?" Lu Ming asked. "It's about your father," Huakai said softly. "My father?" Lu Ming was shocked. His eyes were filled with hope as he said with a trembling voice, "Could it be?" Huakai nodded and said, "Let's talk on the side." The two of them walked to a secluded area. "Lu Ming, I've found your father," Huakai said. "My father, where is he? Is he in the Imperial capital?" Lu Ming asked in a trembling voice. Huakai shook his head and said, "He was originally in the Imperial capital. He was imprisoned in an extremely secret place in the north of the Imperial capital by the 10 Directions Sword sect. But 7 days ago, a group of unknown people suddenly attacked that secret place. Your father has already been taken away by that group of people." "What? Kidnapped by a group of unknown people?" Lu Ming was greatly shaken. "Do you know why those people kidnapped my father?" he asked. Huakai shook his head and said, "I don't know about that. However, we've already found out that group of people are currently rushing towards the desolate wasteland, and the members of the Decimo Sword sect are pursuing them with all their might." "Desolate wasteland, I'm going to save my father immediately." Lu Ming revealed an anxious expression. "Lu Ming, wait a moment. Don't be hasty. Don't forget that the disciples of the Decimo Sword faction are still waiting for you outside," Huakai shouted. Lu Ming took a deep breath and calmed himself down. Yes, to go to the desolate wasteland, he first had to deal with those 2 disciples of the Decimo Sword faction. "Lu Ming, I'll think of a way to lure those 2 disciples away. Also, my father has already sent 4 great experts to the desolate wasteland in secret." Speaking until here, a sword-shaped jade tablet appeared in Huakai's hand. He handed it to Lu Ming and said, "This is a 10,000-mile sound transmission talisman. The 4 great experts sent by my father also have a 10,000-mile sound transmission talisman. When you arrive at the desolate wasteland, you can use this to send a message to them. Within 10,000 miles, you'll be able to receive the other party's message." "Huakai, thank you." Lu Ming received it and thanked him sincerely. Huakai had really helped him a lot. "I've said that you don't need to thank me. You must be careful when you go," Huakai said. Lu Ming nodded and said with a smile, "Wait for me to come back and drink." "All right, I'll go lure away those 2 from the 10 Directions Sword sect." Huakai nodded and led the 2 old men out of the Star General Hall in a flash. About half an hour later, Huakai's figure appeared and said, "Lu Ming, you can go now." Lu Ming nodded and took out a black robe and a bamboo hat. His figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. Lu Ming left the Star General Hall and walked along some small streets towards the north. After passing through 7 or 8 streets, he didn't see any disciples of the 10,000-mile sword sect chasing after him. "Stop!" Just when Lu Ming let down his guard, a delicate shout sounded. Swoosh! There was a sound of something breaking through the air and a pretty figure appeared in front of Lu Ming. Xie Nianqing. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as he looked at the person in front of him with a dumbfounded expression. The girl in front of him was incomparably beautiful. She was wearing a short skirt, revealing a pair of slender and fair thighs. Her big eyes blinked as she stared at Lu Ming. If it wasn't Xie Nianqing, who else could it be? He had never imagined that he would run into Xie Nianqing here. Why did Xie Nianqing stop him? He had changed his appearance and was wearing a black robe and a bamboo hat. Xie Nianqing couldn't recognize him. Ahem, miss, may I know why you're blocking my way? Lu Ming coughed a few times and lowered his voice. He sounded like a burly man in his 30s. Lu Ming, what are you pretending for? I finally found you. Come, let's have a fight. The corner of Xie Nianqing's mouth rose slightly as he said disdainfully. Ah! Lu Ming was stunned. Xie Nianqing really recognized him. How was that possible? Did he reveal any flaws? But when he looked around, he didn't reveal any flaws. But why did Xie Nianqing insist that he was Lu Ming? Lu Ming took off his bamboo hat, revealing his disguised face, and said, Look, young lady, you really recognized the wrong person. Humph. Xie Nianqing's small lips curled up slightly, her disdain growing. Lu Ming, you're still pretending. No matter how you disguise yourself, I will be able to recognize you. No matter how you disguise yourself, you won't be able to change your scent. It just so happens that my nose is more special. As long as I smell someone, even if he turns into ashes, I will be able to recognize him. That works. Lu Ming was speechless. He had thought of everything, but he didn't expect this. Ha ha ha, Miss Xie, what a coincidence. I haven't seen you for a long time, and I miss you. Unfortunately, I have an urgent matter to attend to now. Please make way. Let's have a chat another day. Lu Ming laughed, revealing his original voice. Humph, Lu Ming, it's not easy to meet you. Don't even think about leaving. I said last time that if I see you again, I will ruthlessly trample you under my feet. Come, let's fight. Xie Nianqing looked at Lu Ming unkindly. I said, I don't have time now. If you want to fight, I will accompany you later. Lu Ming's voice sank. He had to rush to the desolate wilderness. How could he have time to fight with Xie Nianqing? I don't care. Don't even think about leaving today. Xie Nianqing was very rude and unreasonable. He blocked in front of Lu Ming. Get out of my way, Lu Ming coldly shouted. He pushed out a palm, and a powerful true qi gushed out, wanting to push Xie Nianqing away. But unexpectedly, Xie Nianqing's body moved slightly, and a powerful true qi gushed out, counteracting Lu Ming's true qi. So strong. Chapter 263. Xie Nianqing was also a little surprised. Apparently, Lu Ming's strength was also beyond her expectations. All right, you're quite strong. You're just in time to fight with me. Xie Nianqing's eyes lit up. You're crazy. I don't have time for you. Lu Ming snorted coldly. Then, he soared into the sky and ran away at top speed. Don't even think about leaving, Xie Nianqing shouted. She kicked her legs and chased after Lu Ming at top speed as if her body was weightless. Her speed was unbelievably fast. She was not slower than Lu Ming at all. Lu Ming was shocked. He used the high air steps to the extreme and walked hundreds of meters in the blink of an eye. Soon, he was out of the imperial city and heading northwest. Xie Nianqing followed closely behind him. She could also walk in the air for a short time. This bitch is really crazy. Forget it. Follow me if you want. Lu Ming was speechless. He let her follow him. He used his body movement technique and moved forward at top speed. The desolate wilderness was at the northwest border of the Burning Sun Empire. It was a desolate wilderness that spanned across 3 empires. It was the border of the 3 empires. To the north was the Yin Moon Empire. To the northwest was the Blood Jiao Empire, a middle-level empire. Empires were divided into low-level, middle-level, high-level, and super-level empires according to their strength. The Burning Sun Empire and the Yin Moon Empire were all low-level empires. Emperor Yun had 36 empires. 8 of them were middle-level empires. The rest were all low-level empires. The middle-level empires were at least 10 times stronger than the low-level empires. They could not be compared. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, it would take him 4 or 5 days to reach the desolate wilderness. After 1 day and 1 night, Lu Ming's genuine qi was exhausted. He stopped to meditate and recover. Not far behind him, Xian Yanqing was also panting and sweating. She stopped and sat cross-legged on the ground. She's really persistent. Lu Ming was speechless. 3 hours later, Lu Ming's true qi had completely recovered, and he saw Xian Yanqing also stand up. How about this? I really have something urgent to do. Once I'm done here, I'll fight you. Lu Ming said. Who knows where you'll run off to? You treated me like that back then. I said that I'll definitely trample you under my feet. I'll definitely do what I said. Don't even think about running away. I'll follow you. When you're done with your business, I'll teach you a lesson. Xian Yanqing gritted his teeth. Lu Ming was speechless. Wasn't this girl's temper a little too strange? Forget it, forget it. Follow me if you want. Lu Ming was speechless. Then, Lu Ming continued on his way with Xian Yanqing following beside him. In the blink of an eye, 4 days had passed. The desolate wasteland was already in sight. He stood on top of a mountain and gazed into the distance. The desolate wasteland was incomparably vast. It was like a gigantic beast lying down in front of them. The two of them took a step forward and headed towards the desolate wasteland. When they entered the desolate wasteland, they realized that the desolate wasteland was not completely desolate. They could see patches of trees and weeds. However, these trees and weeds did not have any leaves. They looked lifeless. The surroundings were completely silent. Not even the chirping of insects or birds could be heard. However, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing did not dare to be careless. The desolate wasteland was known for its danger. Roar! At this moment, the two of them saw a giant black tiger running through the desolate forest. This giant tiger had a powerful aura. It was actually a Class 2 LV3 demonic beast. Whoosh whoosh! At this moment, in front of the giant tiger, a black fog suddenly flew down from a leafless tree. The black fog coiled around the giant tiger and then flew away, disappearing from the tree. Below, a tiger-shaped skeleton was left. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing felt their scalps go numb. They could clearly see that the black mist that flew out of the tree was actually a type of tiny ant. However, there were too many of them and their power was terrifying. The Class 2 LV3 giant tiger did not even have the chance to scream before it turned into a pile of white bones. The desolate wasteland was indeed strange. They had to be extra careful. The two of them continued to move forward. Along the way, they were more than 300 miles into the desolate wasteland. Whoosh! Whoosh! Suddenly, the sound of something breaking through the air was heard. 8 figures flashed and appeared in front of Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. The two of them paused and stopped. The Decimo Sword sect is handling some matters here. We have temporarily requisitioned this area. Please go back. The leader of the group, a middle-aged man, said. His tone was unusually domineering. When did the desolate wasteland become the Decimo Sword sect's territory? This is the first time I've heard of it. Lu Ming sneered. If I say it's ours, then it's ours. Kid, you'd better behave yourself. Otherwise, this place will be your burial ground. The middle-aged man's eyes turned cold and his body emitted a faint murderous intent. At this moment, Lu Ming did not wear his bamboo hat. These people from the Decimo Sword sect had obviously never seen Lu Ming before and did not recognize him. Lu Ming glanced at the people from the Decimo Sword sect. The leader of the group had an extremely strong aura and was in the martial ancestor realm. The other 7 people were all martial grandmaster realm LV9 experts. Obviously, the Decimo Sword sect had mobilized a large force to capture Lu Yuntian. Okay, let's go. Suddenly, Lu Ming said and turned to leave. Xian Yanqing's eyes flashed. He did not say anything and followed Lu Ming. Behind them, the middle-aged man from the Decimo Sword sect had a strong murderous intent in his eyes. These 2 people are suspicious. I'd rather kill them than let them go. Kill them. The middle-aged man waved his hand. Kill. Immediately, two Martial Grandmaster Realm LV9 experts unsheathed their swords and charged at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing respectively. They were extremely fast and arrived behind the two in an instant. Their wide swords slashed down at their heads. However, at this moment, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing suddenly turned around. Lu Ming waved his hand and a long spear appeared. It directly pierced through the Martial Grandmaster Realm LV9 expert who was charging at him. Xian Yanqing flicked his finger. With a whistling sound, the opponent's head suddenly flew high into the air and blood splattered everywhere. Lu Ming was slightly surprised. He could see that Xian Yanqing's cultivation had already reached the Martial Grandmaster Realm LV9. It seemed that Xian Yanqing had some fortuitous encounter during this period of time. Otherwise, his cultivation could not have improved so quickly. It was because he had the spirit-devouring bloodline that his cultivation soared so quickly. However, Xian Yanqing did not have the spirit-devouring bloodline. It was really shocking that his cultivation breakthrough was not slower than his. I knew that you would do this. Lu Ming looked coldly at the remaining people of the Decimo Sword sect. In an instant, the two experts were killed, causing the middle-aged man and the others to be stunned. Then, they roared furiously, "You dare to kill the disciples of my Decimo Sword sect? You're courting death. Kill them." The middle-aged man emitted a terrifying aura and charged at Lu Ming. The remaining 5 Martial Grandmaster Realm LV9 experts charged at Xian Yanqing. Martial Grandmaster Realm LV1. Just nice to test my strength. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. He shook his long spear and charged at the other party. During this period of seclusion, he had gained a lot. His combat strength had increased rapidly and he did not know what level he had reached. Previously, he had fought twice. The first time was with a martial artist at the peak of the Martial Grandmaster Realm LV9. The other time, it was 2 geniuses at the peak of the Martial Grandmaster Realm LV2. The first time was too weak and the second time was too strong. It was not a good test for Lu Ming's combat strength. Chapter 264. A mere martial Grand Master dares to fight with me? Die. The middle-aged martial ancestor sneered. In his opinion, Lu Ming was overestimating himself and courting death. Swish. The middle-aged martial ancestor's sword slashed towards Lu Ming's head. He wanted to cut off Lu Ming's head with one slash. Wang. Swish. Lu Ming's long spear trembled and pierced forward. A bright spear radiance pierced forward. The spear radiance clashed with the middle-aged martial ancestor's sword. The middle-aged martial ancestor's face instantly changed. Boom. An incomparably sharp and powerful force blasted towards the middle-aged martial ancestor Realm Master. The middle-aged martial ancestor Realm Master's body trembled violently as he frantically retreated. He slid back tens of meters in the forest and left a deep ravine in the ground. How can a martial Grand Master be so powerful? The middle-aged martial ancestor roared in his heart. So this is your strength? It's nothing much. Kill. Lu Ming raised his spear and charged towards the middle-aged martial ancestor. The long spear pierced out and a bright spear radiance burst out. The middle-aged martial ancestor tried his best but he was still no match for Lin Fan. After 6 moves, he was swept by Lu Ming's spear and flew out screaming. Swish. Lu Ming chased after him and smashed down with his long spear. Bang! The middle-aged martial ancestor screamed again as his body was smashed into the ground, creating a large pit. He lay in the pit and spat out blood continuously. He could not move at all. A figure flashed and Xian Yanqing appeared beside him. Obviously, the 5 martial Grand Masters had been dealt with by her. The middle-aged martial ancestor lay in the pit and looked at the 2 youths with horror in his eyes. Where did this young man come from? He was too terrifying. His battle prowess was so strong that it was simply shocking. Could they be geniuses from the Blood Jiao Empire? The middle-aged martial ancestor thought. In the Burning Sun Empire, he had never heard of such a powerful martial Grand Master. It would be normal for such a genius to appear in a medium-sized empire like the Blood Jiao Empire. Tell me, what's the situation of the person you're chasing? Where is he? Lu Ming stared coldly at the middle-aged Wu Zong and asked coldly. Could it be that you're also after the martial emperor's treasures key? Don't even think about it. Let me tell you, my 10 directions sword faction's Qiu Changkong is right in front. You, a mere martial grand master, want to interfere? You're really courting death. The middle-aged Wu Zong shouted angrily. The secret key to the martial emperor's treasure? And Qiu Changkong is also in front. Lu Ming's expression changed. He looked a little serious and doubtful. The leader of the 6 heroes, Qiu Changkong, was actually chasing after his father. And the secret key to the martial emperor's treasure? Could it be related to the martial emperor? Thinking of this, Lu Ming's heart trembled. Above martial great masters were martial kings. They were known as kings and were extremely powerful. Whether or not there was a martial king in the vast Burning Sun Empire was still a question. Even an overlord like Lin Shuai had not reached the martial king realm. However, when a martial king was compared to a martial emperor, the difference was like heaven and earth. No, it was even greater. There was simply no comparison. Above the martial king realm, there was still the spirit god realm, the 3 realms. Above the 3 realms was the martial emperor realm. A martial emperor could shatter the heavens and the earth with a flick of his finger. He was the strongest person in the divine wilderness continent and was invincible. As for whether there were any higher realms above the martial emperor realm, there were legends, but they had always been legends. Could the secret key to the martial emperor's treasure be related to the martial emperor? Lu Ming could not help but be shocked. Lu Ming did not notice that when Xian Yanqing heard about the secret key to the martial emperor's treasure, his eyes were filled with astonishment. So I advise you to let me go quickly. I can hide what happened today. Otherwise, you will end up in a miserable state. The middle-aged martial great master threatened. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he immediately let out a miserable shriek as Lu Ming's spear pierced through his thigh. So much nonsense. Speak, where are you now? Did you catch the person you were chasing? Lu Ming asked coldly. The middle-aged martial great master broke out in cold sweat as he shrieked, I'll speak, please don't kill me. He knew that he had met a tough opponent today and could only beg for mercy. Speak. Lu Ming shouted coldly. From here, the experts from the Yin Moon Empire kidnapped the person we were chasing. Our men are about to catch up with them. The middle-aged martial great master shouted. Yin Moon Empire? Lu Ming frowned as he felt that the situation was getting more and more complicated. He continued to ask, how many experts did you bring this time? Apart from Qiu Changkong, there are 7 martial great masters. Apart from me, there are 6 others and over 100 martial grand masters. The middle-aged martial great master answered honestly. I've already said what I should say. Please let me go. I will not tell anyone about what happened today. The middle-aged martial great master begged. However, there was a murderous look in his eyes as he thought to himself. As long as Lu Ming let him go, he would inform Qiu Changkong and kill Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Let you go. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. There was a flash of murderous intent as the long spear pierced out. Don't, the middle-aged martial great master shouted, but in the next moment, his voice stopped abruptly as his heart was crushed by Lu Ming's spear. I won't leave any hidden dangers behind. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Lu Ming, your combat strength is not bad. I'm looking forward to trampling you under my feet. Xian Yanqing sized up Lu Ming carefully as his eyes burned with passion. Lu Ming shuddered and quickly changed the topic. You don't want the spoils of war. I want them. After speaking, Lu Ming searched the bodies of the Shifang sword sect members. At the same time, he controlled the soul-devouring bloodline and secretly devoured their blood essence. There was a martial great master realm first stage martial great master's blood essence. Lu Ming did not want to miss it. After the previous battle, Lu Ming had a better understanding of his combat strength. He was roughly at the peak of the martial great master realm. That middle-aged man was only at the early stage of the martial great master realm. Therefore, he was defeated by Lu Ming in a few moves due to his carelessness. However, such combat strength was far from enough. Qiu Changkong was the leader of the 6 heroes and his combat strength was absolutely terrifying. Moreover, there were other martial great masters. It would be difficult to save his father. He had to continuously improve his strength. Soon, the blood essence of the 8 Shifang sword sect disciples were all devoured by Lu Ming. 8 storage rings appeared in his hand. Hey, you can't take the storage rings for yourself. I want that martial great master's storage ring. Xian Yanqing shouted. Why should I? Lu Ming did not give it to him. No, I'm taking it. Xian Yanqing gritted his teeth. All right, but I want to cultivate for a while. Guard me, Lu Ming said. You. All right. Xian Yanqing gritted his teeth and finally agreed. The two of them left and stopped in a valley more than 50 miles away. Lu Ming wanted to refine the blood essence and break through to the martial great master realm. Xian Yanqing snorted and unwillingly stood guard for Lu Ming at the entrance of the valley. Lu Ming sat cross-legged and circulated the true dragon fighting art. Rumble. The blood essence of a martial great master realm first stage martial great master was too rich. It was constantly converted into vigorous energy and was refined by Lu Ming into genuine qi. Chapter 265. About 2 hours later, there was a booming sound coming from Lu Ming's body. A powerful aura burst out, but it was soon restrained. 9th level martial master, breakthrough. Not far away, Xian Yanqing widened her eyes in shock. He broke through just like that. To be honest, when she first saw Lu Ming, she was shocked because Lu Ming's cultivation speed was too fast. Back in the Dongyi tribe's ancestral secret realm, Lu Ming's cultivation was 1 level lower than hers. He was only a 2nd level martial master. It had only been half a year, but Lu Ming's cultivation had risen to a terrifying level. If she had not had a fortuitous encounter in the past 6 months, she would have been surpassed by Lu Ming. Just now, Lu Ming had broken through again. She did not know about the magic of Lu Ming's spirit-devouring bloodline, so she was naturally shocked. All right, let's go. Lu Ming smiled and got up to walk forward. Xian Yanqing's beautiful eyes stared at Lu Ming as if she wanted to see through him. The two of them walked toward the depths of the desolate wilderness. During this time, Lu Ming used the 1,000-mile sound transmission talisman to send a message to the experts of the imperial family and soon received a response. However, Lu Ming did not meet up with the experts of the imperial family. Instead, he walked separately. If they gathered together, they would be too big of a target. At this time, in a desolate forest in the depths of the desolate wilderness. With a flash of light, more than a dozen figures in black robes appeared. Among these people, there were some old men and some middle-aged men. Among them, there was only a young man in his 20s. However, everyone seemed to follow the young man's lead. Damn it, the 10 Directions sword sect is really like a haunting ghost, biting and not letting go like a dog, a middle-aged man said unhappily. If it weren't for this cripple, how could the Shifang sword sect catch up with us? Another man with a scar on his face said coldly as he looked at another person. This person had messy hair that reached his waist. His face was full of beard that hung down to his chest. His hair and beard were like a bird's nest. No one knew how long it had been since he washed them. He was wearing a tattered shirt that was stained with blood. His eyes were empty and lifeless as he stared blankly at the sky, completely ignoring the scarred man. Killing intent flashed in the eyes of the scarred man when he saw this. He shouted in a low voice, "Lu Yuntian, don't play dumb in front of us. Quickly hand over the martial monarch's key and tell us the whereabouts of the martial monarch's treasure. Otherwise, I'll kill you." This dirty and disheveled man was Lu Ming's father, Lu Yuntian, who had disappeared for more than 8 years. At this time, Lu Yuntian's eyes flickered as if he had come back to his senses. He looked at the scar-faced man with disdain and said, "Fine, then hurry up and kill me. You think I don't dare? Damn it, when we return to the Dark Moon Empire, I will torture you. Let's see if you still want to talk or not." The scarred man roared. "I've been in the 10 Directions sword sect for more than 8 years. What methods have I not experienced? I didn't even say anything. Do you think you can do it?" Lu Yuntian's disdain deepened. "Damn it. The scar-faced man was so angry that the muscles on his face trembled, causing the scar on his face to tremble continuously. He couldn't wait to kill Lu Yuntian, but Lu Yuntian had too many secrets that they had to know. They took the risk to kidnap Lu Yuntian for those secrets. Alright, let's bring him back and slowly investigate. The most important thing now is to get rid of the 10 Directions sword sect and Qiu Changkong's pursuit. A white-haired old man waved his hand and said. The scar-faced man smiled viciously at Lu Yuntian and didn't say anything else. So what if they catch up? I want to fight with Qiu Changkong. I want to see how Qiu Changkong is ranked on the Emperor leaderboard. The only young man sneered coldly. Third Prince, don't be careless. The Emperor leaderboard is a list of the strongest young people in the 36 countries. There are only 36 people on it. Qiu Changkong is ranked 36th, his strength is absolutely terrifying. Don't underestimate him. The white-haired old man exhorted. However, the young man just smiled and didn't seem to care too much. Let's leave here quickly. The white-haired old man said. Leave? Do you think we can leave now? Suddenly, a cold voice rang out from the sky. A ray of light took the lead and charged towards them. Behind him, there were 6 other rays of light. The white-haired old man's expression changed and he shouted in horror, Qiu Changkong, this is bad. Run. No one can leave. A cold voice came from the ray of light in front. Whoosh. A dazzling sword light flew out and slashed towards the people from the Yin Moon Empire. Qiu Changkong, I'll fight with you. The third prince of the Yin Moon Empire shouted and waved his hand. A circular weapon that looked like a bright moon appeared. The circular wheel spun and slashed out a terrifying blade light towards the sword Qi. Boom. A shocking explosion sounded out as the ground was swept by the sharp light of the 2 people. 100-meter-long ravine appeared. Whoosh. The space moved and a slender figure appeared in the sky. He was 25 or 26 years old. His face was cold and handsome like a peerless sword. His swordsman robe fluttered in the wind. This was Qiu Changkong, the leader of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire. He was a famous genius even in the Cloud Emperor mountain range and was listed on the Cloud Emperor board. Yin Joyo, it's you. Qiu Changkong looked around and said. Ha, Qiu Changkong, you want to keep the great opportunity for yourself? I, Yin Joyo, will not allow it. The third prince of the Yin Moon Empire, Yin Joyo, laughed. How dare you touch my things? Die. As soon as Qiu Changkong said the word die, he attacked. A dazzling sword Qi shot up to the sky. He merged with the sword Qi and charged towards Yin Joyo. Qiu Changkong, I'd like to see how you can be listed on the Cloud Emperor board. Yin Joyo roared and fought with Qiu Changkong. Their combat strength was terrifying and they were much stronger than Feng Wuji and the others. Their battle was earth-shattering and the clouds changed color. Boom. Boom. The 2 of them fought in the sky like 2 streams of light. In the blink of an eye, the battle had reached the depths of the desolate wilderness and disappeared. Kill. At that moment, the martial grandmasters of the Shifang sword sect arrived and charged towards the people of the Yin Moon Empire. The scene fell into a chaotic battle. Soon, the martial grandmasters of the Shifang sword sect arrived and the scene became even more chaotic. Be careful, don't kill Lu Yuntian, an elder of the Shifang sword sect shouted. The purpose of the battle was to fight for Lu Yuntian. Therefore, they avoided Lu Yuntian during the battle as they were afraid that they would kill him by accident and everything would be in vain. The battle between the 2 parties was extremely intense but they ignored Lu Yuntian. A few kilometers away, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were rushing with all their might. Suddenly, the 2 of them heard a loud explosion in front of them. Someone is fighting. Has the Shifang sword sect caught up with my father? Let's go. Chapter 266. Xian Yanqing followed closely behind. The 2 of them covered a distance of a few miles in the blink of an eye. 1,000 meters away from the battlefield, the 2 of them hid in a pile of rocks and watched from afar. Lu Ming saw the figure with messy hair at first glance. Father. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Although they had not seen each other for more than 8 years and Lu Yuntian's hair and beard were messy and his clothes were tattered, Lu Ming recognized him at first glance. This man was his father, Lu Yuntian. Damn Shifang sword sect. How dare they torture my father like this? Lu Ming's eyes were filled with killing intent. How can I save my father? Lu Ming began to think. Shifang sword sect and Yin Moon Empire had more than a dozen martial ancestor realm experts in total. There were even 2 4th-level martial ancestor realm experts who were fighting fiercely. It was impossible to save Lu Yuntian with so many experts. It was impossible to get close. Once they got close, they would be discovered. Even if they could get close, they would not be able to take Lu Yuntian away quietly. Once they were discovered, they would be hunted down by both parties. Facing such a powerful force, they would only die. What should I do? Lu Ming thought anxiously. After more than 8 years, he finally found his father. He was not far away, but he could not save him. At this moment, Lu Ming hated himself. He hated himself for being too weak. I can save your father. Suddenly, Xian Yanqing whispered beside him. What? You can save my father? Really? Lu Ming was shocked and asked. Of course. It's up to you to believe it or not. Forget it. Xian Yanqing rolled his eyes at him. No, I believe you. I believe you. If you can really save my father, I'll do whatever you want. Lu Ming said sincerely. Page, don't think too much. I'm saving your father to prevent you from rushing out on impulse and dying here. How can I fulfill my promise and trample you under my feet? Xian Yanqing snorted coldly. Lu Ming smiled bitterly as he rubbed his nose. How do you want to save my father? As you can see, once they find out that my father has been rescued, they will definitely stop fighting and pursue us with all their might. I know a secret technique called the Heavenly Demon Illusory Technique. It can condense an illusory figure that is exactly the same as your father. If I leave it there, I can secretly replace it and save your father. Xian Yanqing explained. There's actually such a mysterious secret technique. Lu Ming exclaimed. It's just a small trick. You're the one who's ignorant. Xian Yanqing looked at Lu Ming with disdain. The corners of his mouth rose slightly, revealing a trace of complacency. Wait for me here. Before Lu Ming could react, Xian Yanqing's figure floated forward like a ghost. A layer of black mist spread out from her body. In the darkness of the night, it was impossible to distinguish her. Soon, Xian Yanqing was near Lu Yuntian. At this moment, Lu Ming's heartbeat quickened, almost jumping to his throat. In the end, Xian Yanqing silently appeared behind Lu Yuntian. A layer of black mist spread out towards Lu Yuntian. The black mist moved and Lu Yuntian's figure disappeared without a trace. But in the next moment, Lu Yuntian reappeared in the same position. However, no one noticed that Lu Yuntian, who appeared later, had a dazed look in his eyes. Xian Yanqing floated towards Lu Ming at extreme speed. In 7 to 8 breaths, he reached Lu Ming's side. Leave quickly. My Heavenly Demon Illusory Technique can only last for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, it will disappear and the other party will find out. Xian Yanqing's voice sounded. The black mist dissipated, revealing Xian Yanqing and another figure. If it wasn't Lu Yuntian, who else could it be? Let's go. Lu Ming suppressed the excitement in his heart. He pulled Lu Yuntian and executed the high air steps. Together with Xian Yanqing, they rushed out of the desolate forest at extreme speed. Now was not the time to catch up. They had to leave this place first. At the same time, Lu Ming used the 10,000 miles sound transmission talisman to send a message to the experts of the imperial family. The two of them moved extremely quickly. In the darkness of the night, their figures were almost invisible to the naked eye. Half an hour later, the two of them were 200 miles away. They stopped at a hidden mountain stream. Lu Ming had accidentally discovered this mountain stream when he came here. It was extremely hidden. The message he sent to the experts of the imperial family was to meet here. After all, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were not martial ancestors. They could not fly. If they carried Lu Yuntian, it would not be long before the martial ancestors of the 10-direction sword faction caught up with them. They could only rescue Lu Yuntian with the help of the imperial family. The two of you are so young. Could it be that you are also here for the martial royal key? I advise the two of you to give up. Qiu Changkong did everything he could and did not succeed. The same goes for the two of you. At this moment, Lu Yuntian glanced at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing and said indifferently. However, Xian Yanqing did not say anything. Lu Ming did not say anything either. They only stared blankly at Lu Yuntian. Slowly, tears welled up in the corners of Lu Ming's eyes. He called out softly, "Father." Lu Yuntian's body suddenly trembled. His originally lifeless eyes suddenly lit up. He stared at Lu Ming and said, "You. What did you call me?" "Father, I am Ming Er." "Father." Lu Ming reached out and wiped his face, revealing his delicate and handsome face. He had returned to his original appearance. Looking at Lu Ming's face, Lu Yuntian's body trembled violently. More than 8 years ago, Lu Ming was less than 10 years old. In addition, he was frail and sickly. His appearance and demeanor were very different from now. However, that kind of outline would not change. Also, that kind of feeling between father and son would not disappear. Lu Yuntian immediately recognized Lu Ming. Ming Er, it's really you. It's really you. I'm not dreaming, right?" Lu Yuntian stared at Lu Ming. His voice trembled as he kept muttering. His eyes were filled with joy and disbelief. Even in his dreams, he would never have thought that he would meet Lu Ming here. "Father, it's me. Ming Er is here to save you." Lu Ming felt the tip of his nose tingle as tears welled up in his eyes. "Ha ha, Ming Er, the heavens have eyes. I never thought that I would be able to meet Ming Er in my lifetime. I can die without regrets." Lu Yuntian sighed as tears flowed down his face. A man did not cry easily. That was only when he was sad. "Ming Er, you've grown so big in the blink of an eye. Let me take a good look at you." Lu Yuntian placed his hands on Lu Ming's shoulders and looked at him carefully. "Ming Er, you're finally able to cultivate, and you've even become an incredible expert." Lu Yuntian's face was full of smiles. "Father, your cultivation?" At this moment, Lu Ming realized that there was not a single trace of true qi in Lu Yuntian's body. His body was weak and his vitality was lacking. He was even weaker than an ordinary person. "My cultivation has long been crippled." Lu Yuntian smiled. "Crippled? Who did it?" "Father, was it done by the Shifang sword sect?" Damn it. Lu Ming's eyes were red as he exuded a murderous aura. "Ming Er, don't be rash. It's already a blessing that we can meet. The Shifang sword sect is too strong. Let's just forget about this matter," Lu Yuntian said. However, Lu Ming's heart was twitching. He knew that Lu Yuntian was worried about his safety. He was afraid that he would act rashly and go against the Shifang sword sect. "Father, who is it? Is it the entire Shifang sword sect or someone else? Who is the mastermind?" Chapter 267. Lu Yuntian wanted to let it go, but he couldn't. No matter who it was, he would take revenge 10 times or 100 times over. If he didn't take revenge, was he still a man? If he wanted to hurt Lu Yuntian, he would end up 10 times or 100 times worse than Lu Yuntian. Lu Yuntian pondered for a moment and said, "Ming Er, I can tell you, but you must not be impulsive. This person is not someone you can defeat. Promise me and I will tell you." "Father, I promise you. I will not throw my life away before I am strong enough." Lu Ming said. "All right, I will tell you. This person is," at that moment, whoosh, whoosh. There was a sound of something breaking through the air. 4 figures rushed in from the mountain stream. The 4 of them were old men with white hair. Their auras were extremely strong and they were all experts above the martial ancestor realm. Lu Ming's eyes moved and 1,000 miles voice transmission talisman appeared in his hand. One of the short and fat old men in grey linen clothes smiled and 1,000 miles voice transmission talisman appeared in his hand. "Young Master Tianyun, I have heard a lot about you. I didn't expect you to be able to save your father under Qiu Changkong's nose. I am impressed." The short and fat old man cupped his fists. "Senior, you are too polite. We were just lucky. This time, we will have to trouble you to send us back to the imperial capital." Lu Ming cupped his fists and said, "You are welcome. It is a small matter. Let's not delay any longer. We should leave as soon as possible. If the Shifang sword faction finds us here, we will be in trouble. The short and fat old man said. Lu Ming nodded. At that moment, whoosh, whoosh, there was a sound of something breaking through the air in the distance. A few figures streaked across the sky and disappeared in an instant. Lu Ming saw clearly that those figures were the martial ancestor realm experts of the Shifang sword faction. The Shifang sword faction is so fast. The short and fat old man's face changed drastically. Lu Ming's face turned gloomy. The mountain stream was very hidden and was surrounded by trees and weeds. Hence, the Shifang sword faction did not discover them earlier. However, they would definitely discover them after some time. What should we do? If we go out like this, we will definitely be discovered. If Qiu Changkong arrives, we will not be his match. Another old man said with a solemn expression. Seniors, please take Ming and the others away. Qiu Changkong and the others want me, I'll lure them away. Said Lu Yuntian. No, father. It was not easy to save you. How could I let you fall into the hands of Qiu Changkong and the others? Lu Ming said firmly. Even if he had to die, he wouldn't let Lu Yuntian fall into the hands of the Decimo Sword sect and suffer all kinds of torture. With a wave of his hand, Lu Yuntian's tattered clothes fell into Lu Ming's hands. Lu Yuntian's expression changed greatly as he said, Ming don't. The expressions of the others also changed. Seniors, I will go and distract them. You take my father back to the imperial city and hand him over to His Highness the 8th Prince. Lu Ming said to the elders. Ming this definitely won't do. I don't agree. Lu Yuntian let out a low growl. Lu Ming smiled and said, Father, don't worry. Ming will be fine. Let's meet again in the imperial capital. Wait a minute, I'll go with you. On the side, Xian Yanqing suddenly said. You'll go with me. Lu Ming looked at Xian Yanqing. H, don't think too much. I'm just afraid that if you die, I won't be able to fulfill my promise. Also, how are you going to distract the people of the Decimo Sword sect alone? Don't forget that your father's cultivation has been destroyed. If you run too fast, you will be exposed. I'll take you with me. Xian Yanqing curled his lips. Okay, let's do that. I owe you a favor. Lu Ming said. TSK, who wants your favor? Xian Yanqing curled his lips in disdain. Father, take care. After saying that, Lu Ming was about to rush out. Ming no, come back. Lu Yuntian growled. However, he had lost his cultivation. How could he catch up with Lu Ming? In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's figures were out of the mountain stream. Out of the mountain stream, Lu Ming put on Lu Yuntian's clothes. I'll take you with me. Xian Yanqing pulled Lu Ming and rushed toward the depths of the desolate wilderness. In order to distract the people of the Decimo Sword sect, they naturally had to go to the depths of the desolate wilderness so that Lu Yuntian and the others could escape smoothly. Several miles later. Over here, I see them. A loud roar sounded in the desolate wilderness. Whoosh, whoosh. A few figures were chasing after Lu Ming and the rest at high speed. They were several martial artists of the 9th level of the martial master realm. Let's run together. Lu Ming pretended to be pulled by Xian Yanqing. In fact, he was using his movement technique. The two of them ran toward the depths of the desolate wilderness like a gust of wind. The martial artists of the 9th level of the martial master realm behind them could not catch up at all. In the blink of an eye, dozens of miles had passed. Who dares to rob the people of the Decimo Sword sect? You're courting death. At this moment, there was an explosion in the sky. A martial arts grandmaster flew in the air and chased after them. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing ignored him. They gritted their teeth and ran. In this way, they ran for hundreds of miles. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, there were 6 figures in the sky. They were the 6 martial arts grandmasters of the Decimo Sword sect. At this moment, they were getting closer and closer to Lu Ming and the others. No matter how fast their movement techniques were, they were still a little slower than flying in the air. Slowly, they were caught up. Whoosh, whoosh. Sword chi slashed toward Lu Ming and the others. The two of them flashed and dodged. A moment later, more than 100 miles passed in the blink of an eye. Die. At this moment, an old man was already approaching Lu Ming and the others. The old man's aura was extremely dense. He was the 4th-level martial arts grandmaster from the Decimo sword sect. His face was cold. When he swung his sword, dozens of dazzling sword chi shot out. It completely enveloped the two of them. Oh no, block it. Lu Ming growled. Four ancient shields appeared behind him. Xian Yanqing also shouted and slapped out with her palm. Numerous black lotuses appeared behind her to block the attack. Bam! Bam! The ancient shields and the black lotuses exploded one after another. Dense energy shot out in all directions. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing used this energy to rush forward more than 1,000 meters. You're not Lu Yuntian. We've been fooled. The old man let out an earth-shattering roar. Haha, it's too late now. My men have already brought Lu Yuntian out of the lonely wilderness. You bunch of idiots. Lu Ming laughed. Damn it, damn it. Lu Yuntian ran away. Then I'll kill you. The old man roared and continued to chase after Lu Ming and the others. After chasing for a while, he swung his sword again. However, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing used the same trick again. They used the shield and the black lotuses to block and borrow the energy to rush forward. The old man in the sky was so angry that he almost vomited blood. At the same time, he was shocked. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were clearly only 9th-level martial grandmasters. Not only were they unbelievably fast, but their defensive abilities were also terrifyingly high. Although there was a distance between them, they could block his sword chi. This was already terrifying enough. 4th-level martial arts grandmaster is indeed powerful. Chapter 268. In fact, he and Xian Yanqing were both injured and bleeding from the corners of their mouths. The two of them gritted their teeth and ran forward. Soon, they ran for another few hundred miles. Oh no, the Blood Demon Cave is ahead. The elder from the Decimo Sword sect shouted. Stop. You'll die if you enter the Blood Demon Cave. Stop them and ask for Lu Yuntian's whereabouts. The others from the Decimo Sword sect shouted. Not far ahead, there was a thick fog and a bloody mist. It was boundless. It was obvious that it was a place of great danger. Blood Demon Cave? Lu Ming frowned. He had never heard of it. He looked at Xian Yanqing and saw that she was also confused. Forget it. The people from the Decimo Sword sect seemed to be afraid. The more dangerous the place, the easier it is to escape. Lu Ming decided to charge in. He did not stop at all and rushed toward the Blood Demon Cave. Damn it, damn it. Stop them. The elder from the Decimo Sword sect roared and slashed out sword chi with all his might. However, it only increased the speed of Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Stay. Suddenly, an angry roar came from the sky. A glass-like sword light slashed from afar. It was extremely terrifying. Young Master Chang Kong. The people from the Decimo Sword sect shouted excitedly. Oh no. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's expressions changed drastically. Although the sword chi was still far away, its power surpassed that of the elder who was in the 4th realm of the martial ancestor realm. Without hesitation, Lu Ming unleashed his bloodline. At the same time, he condensed 4 ancient shields and struck out with his palm. Human Path Palm. A huge palm print blasted forward with the power of wind and fire. Xian Yanqing covered her body with black lotuses and struck out 3 black palm prints at the same time. Heavenly Demon Palm Print. Whoosh. The sword light arrived in an instant and clashed with the human Dao Palm and Heavenly Demon Palm. The instant sword. Qiu Changkong's sword aura was resplendent. The sparkling and translucent glow shone even brighter, illuminating the entire sky. Lu Ming's and Xian Yanqing's palm prints were swept away and continued to hit their defensive martial techniques. Bang! Bang! 2 violent explosions rang out. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's bodies shook violently. They let out muffled groans and spat out mouthfuls of blood. Their bodies were sent flying backwards, crossing 1,000 meters in an instant. Enter the Blood Domain Devil Cave. Lu Ming growled. Together with Xian Yanqing, the two of them once again struck out with their palms. The powerful force pushed the two of them back. In the next moment, the two of them disappeared into the fog of the Blood Domain Devil Cave, leaving no trace behind. Whoosh! Whoosh! 6 figures appeared and stopped outside the Blood Domain Devil Cave. Immediately after, a sword light flashed and Qiu Changkong's figure appeared. However, his face was extremely gloomy as he stared at the Blood Domain Devil Cave in front of him. "Young Master Changkong, don't be rash," an old man shouted. He was afraid that Qiu Changkong would rush in on impulse. The Blood Domain Devil Cave was a legendary land of death. Unless one was a martial king, they would only die if they rushed in. No one below the martial king realm had ever come out alive. Qiu Changkong was silent for a while. In the end, he did not rush in. "Leave a few people here to guard. If those two really come out, kill them without mercy," Qiu Changkong instructed. "Yes." The others bowed and replied. "Mh, Lu Yuntian, no matter who saved you, no matter where you are hiding, I will find you." Qiu Changkong's voice was unusually cold, like a ruthless sword. Immediately after, Qiu Changkong stepped out and disappeared in the blink of an eye. 2 people followed Qiu Changkong, leaving 4 people to guard the place. When Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing rushed into the Blood Domain Devil Cave, they felt dizzy. When they stabilized, they realized that they were in a desolate land. Not a single blade of grass grew on the ground. A blood-red mist floated in the air. When they looked around, they realized that they could not find their direction. They did not know where they came from. "This time, I implicated you." Lu Ming looked at Xian Yanqing and sighed. "Don't think too much. My goal is to trample you under my feet," Xian Yanqing said coldly. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. Xian Yanqing's temper was too strange. He could not understand it at all. However, no matter what, it was all thanks to Xian Yanqing. Otherwise, it would not have been so easy to save Lu Yuntian. "Let's find a place to recuperate," Lu Ming said. Previously, they had blocked the attacks of the martial ancestor realm 4th realm expert and Qiu Changkong's sword. The two of them had suffered serious injuries. "Humph!" Xian Yanqing snorted coldly. He randomly chose a direction and walked forward. Lu Ming followed him. Previously, although the desolate land was desolate, there were still living creatures. However, this place was absolutely silent. The ground was reddish-brown and there was not even a blade of withered grass. It was a barren land. The two of them walked forward for dozens of miles. Their surroundings were the same. There was no direction and no living creatures. They did not know where the way out was. "Let's recuperate first," Lu Ming said. This time, Xian Yanqing did not refute. The two of them sat down and circulated their qi to recuperate. However, in the next moment, Lu Ming opened his eyes. This was because he felt that there was no spiritual energy in the world. There was only a violent and ferocious aura. At the side, Xian Yanqing was also bewildered. Then, the two of them took out spiritual crystals and began to absorb the spiritual energy in the spiritual crystals to recuperate. After half a day, the two of them had recovered a lot from their injuries and continued to walk forward. At this time, the two of them found that the blood-red mist around them was much thicker than before. The visibility of the surroundings was greatly reduced. With their cultivation, they could only see a few hundred meters away. Any further and it would be blurry. The two of them raised their guard and continued to move forward. As time passed, the blood-red mist became thicker and thicker. The visibility of the two of them dropped from a few hundred meters to 100 meters, then 80 meters, 60 meters, 50 meters, roar. At this time, a roar came from afar. The two of them became serious. There are living creatures in the mist. They had not encountered one for so long. Now that they had suddenly appeared, it was very strange. The two of them were highly focused. They did not continue to move forward. Instead, they stopped and paid attention to their surroundings. The mist became thicker and thicker. The blood-red mist was like dark red blood. Roar, roar. There were more and more roars in the surroundings. They did not know how many there were. Roar. Suddenly, a roar came from beside the two of them. A murderous aura spread out and the blood-red mist surged. A pale white claw grabbed at Xian Yanqing. The claw was like a human palm, but the fingernails were very long and as sharp as blades. The arm was covered with green hair. Xian Yanqing's expression changed. He waved his hand and a black lotus appeared. The petals flew out and hit the pale white claw. Clang! Clang! The black lotus petals hit the pale white claw. There was a sound of metal colliding and sparks flew in all directions. It was not cut off. Chapter 269. The two of them looked even more serious. This blood demon lair was too strange. The two of them focused and observed their surroundings. Roar! Behind them, a pale white arm covered in green hair grabbed at Lu Ming. Bang! Lu Ming pulled out his spear and hit the hand. With a bang, Lu Ming saw a figure being sent flying. Roars were heard all around. Some were filled with ferocity, while others were like painful screams. Whoosh! Blood mist surged as a tall figure pounced at Lu Ming. Before it arrived, the stench of blood filled the air. Lu Ming finally saw the monster's full appearance. It was a humanoid figure, 2 heads taller than Lu Ming. Its body was covered in green hair, its eyes were blood red, and it had sharp teeth. Is this a blood zombie? Lu Ming's heart stirred. He was somewhat shocked. The so-called blood zombies were a type of zombie formed after a cultivator died in battle. However, their bodies were invulnerable and they were abnormally strong. Without thinking, the spear pierced forward like a rainbow. Puff! The spear pierced through the blood zombie's body, but Lu Ming was not happy. He felt that the blood zombie's body was like an Iron Man. Although he had pierced through the blood zombie's body, it took a lot of effort. Buzz! The spear shook and the blood zombie was sent flying. However, the roars continued and more blood zombies charged at the two of them. Some of the blood zombies even started killing each other. Back off! Lu Ming shouted. The two of them rushed back, but the situation was the same. Blood zombies charged at them without fear of death. They were filled with ferocious aura as they pounced at the two of them. These blood zombies were very strong. The weakest one was a 7th or 8th grade martial master. The stronger ones were definitely at the peak of 9th grade martial master and were even close to a martial ancestor. The key was that there were too many of them and they were very difficult to kill. The two of them immediately fell into a passive situation. Great demonic palm. Xian Yanqing's body was filled with black true qi. Black lotuses danced around his body. He waved both of his palms and black palm prints flew out, knocking away one blood zombie after another. Lu Ming's spear danced like a fiery dragon. With a sweep, 5 or 6 blood zombies were sent flying. However, even more blood zombies pounced on them. The two of them fought and charged at the same time. However, there seemed to be no end to the blood zombies as they swarmed in from all directions. The battle continued like this, and in the blink of an eye, more than an hour had passed. The two of them had lost a lot of their true qi. At this time, they were already drenched in sweat. I can't go on like this, I'll definitely die from exhaustion. Lu Ming's mind raced. Hey! The fog is thinning. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He noticed that the blood-red mist around him was fading, and his visibility was slowly increasing. He could vaguely see that he was surrounded by blood zombies. Most of the blood zombies were actually fighting and tearing at each other. Perhaps the blood zombies will retreat if the mist is thinning. Lu Ming guessed. When they first entered, the blood mist was not thick, and there were no blood zombies. Later on, the blood zombies appeared as the blood mist thickened. Lu Ming guessed that the appearance of the blood zombies had something to do with the blood mist. As time passed, the mist slowly faded. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing seemed to have seen hope. However, the next moment an earth-shattering roar was heard. Heaven and earth shook, and the earth trembled. In the distance, an unimaginably thick blood qi pervaded the air. Lu Ming took a closer look, and his heart began to beat rapidly. That was not blood qi. It was clearly a huge monster. The huge monster was at least 100 meters tall. It was running wildly on the ground like a mountain. It looked like a huge lion. However, its body seemed to be made of blood, and it emitted a strong smell of blood. It opened its mouth and roared. Its voice shook the heavens, and an aura as deep as the sea spread out. Then, it opened its mouth and inhaled. One by one, the blood zombies were sucked into its mouth and disappeared. Blood demon. Is this the legendary blood demon? Xian Yanqing's voice trembled slightly. Not only her voice, but Lu Ming also felt that her body was trembling. Let's go. Lu Ming pulled Xian Yanqing's little hand and ran with large strides. The blood demon was too powerful. Its aura was as deep as the sea and unfathomable. There was no way they could fight it. The two of them ran wildly. The blood zombies on the side seemed to be extremely shocked. They gave up attacking Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing and ran away. Roar. Heaven and earth shook. The blood demon's huge body was running toward Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. No way. Lu Ming felt bitter. He ran with all his might, but his speed was still much slower than the blood demon's. In the blink of an eye, the blood demon was close to the two of them. Its blood-red eyes stared at the two of them. Am I going to die here today? Lu Ming could not help but think. No, I can't die. I just saved Dad. I haven't avenged him yet. I can't die. Lu Ming roared. His eyes were filled with unwavering determination, and his whole body was highly focused. Human path palm. Lu Ming roared and struck with his palm. This palm pushed Lu Ming's state to the peak. Boom. A huge palm print was formed. The palm print was almost solid, and it was twice the size of the previous ones. At this moment of life and death, Lu Ming's human path palm broke through and reached the third level. Previously, Lu Ming had cultivated bitterly in the Diyuan Cave and Divine Wind Valley for a few months before breaking through to the second level. Now, at this moment of life and death, he broke through again. The third level of the human path palm was unprecedentedly powerful. It struck toward the blood demon like an avalanche. Roar. The blood demon roared. There was a hint of disdain in its eyes. It opened its mouth and spat out a ray of blood-red light toward the human path palm. Puff. Like a punctured bubble, the human path palm that had reached the third level collapsed. The difference in strength was too big. It was not something that could be compensated with a single martial technique. Roar. The blood demon roared and pounced toward the two of them. It opened its bloody mouth and a terrifying suction force was produced. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing could not resist at all. They were sucked into the blood demon's huge mouth and disappeared. Roar. The blood demon roared in satisfaction and continued to attack the blood zombies. Grab them. Once they entered the blood demon's mouth, Lu Ming grabbed Xian Yanqing's small hand. The two of them were pulled down by the strong suction force. Don't let go of me. At this moment, Xian Yanqing's small face was pale. Her large eyes were filled with fear. She grabbed Lu Ming's hand tightly. At this moment, she was like an ordinary little girl. She was so fragile that she needed to be protected. Hold on. Don't give up until the last moment. Lu Ming shouted. His true qi surged as he tried to break free from the suction force. However, it was useless. The suction force was too strong. After a few breaths, the two of them landed on a soft place. The surroundings were filled with a thick blood-red mist. This blood-red mist had a terrifying corrosive force. When the two of them landed, they felt a burning pain on their skin. The two of them immediately circulated their true qi to protect their bodies. However, it was not very effective. Their true qi was being consumed rapidly. The two of them had gone through a huge battle and did not have much true qi left. Before long, their true qi was completely consumed. Chapter 270. Puff. Xian Yanqing suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Her body swayed and her face turned pale. Hold on. Lu Ming roared. However, Xian Yanqing's body swayed and her eyes were unfocused. She shouted, Lu Ming, I'm going to trample you under my feet. After saying that, her body went limp and she fell unconscious. Lu Ming was so angry that he wanted to laugh. This woman was still thinking about this at this time. Sizzle. The corrosive mist around them burned and stung their skin. Furthermore, the mist would seep into one's skin and cause one to become drowsy. Am I really going to die here this time? Lu Ming thought to himself, but he was unwilling to accept this. However, his body was getting weaker and weaker, and his mind was getting weaker and weaker. I have to hold on. I have to get out alive. I have to reach the peak of martial arts. Lu Ming roared in his heart and tried his best to fight back. It was not his character to give in. However, this mist was too strange and too strong. It was not going to work even if he did not give in. Just as Lu Ming was about to fall unconscious, the world suddenly changed. After a moment of dizziness, Lu Ming realized that he had appeared in another place. Temple of Paragon. This is the Temple of Paragon. Lu Ming was surprised and confused. Wasn't the Temple of Paragon not allowed to enter when he was in danger? He had tried many times before, but it was useless. He did not expect to enter automatically now. However, Lu Ming was surprised when he looked up. He realized that he was not on the first 3 platforms, but on the highest platform. Below him was a long flight of stairs that led downwards. On the other side was a palace. It was exactly the same as the one he saw on the first 3 platforms. Xian Yanqing was lying next to him, still unconscious. Why am I at the highest point? Lu Ming was surprised and looked into the palace. The door of the palace was open, and it was dark inside. He could vaguely see a figure sitting cross-legged there. Suddenly, that figure moved. He actually stood up and walked out. Tap tap tap, with the sound of footsteps, Lu Ming's heart started beating rapidly. It had been more than 2 years since he had obtained the Temple of Paragon. Lu Ming was extremely curious about the palace and the figures in it. He had always wanted to take a look, but unfortunately, he couldn't reach the top at all, so he could only give up. Now, could he finally get what he wanted? Step. Light footsteps were heard, and a figure walked out. It was a middle-aged man wearing a red battle robe with a sun embroidered on it. His body was extremely tall and majestic, with the back of a tiger and the waist of a bear. When he opened his eyes, it was as if he could see 2 suns floating in them. The aura emanating from his body was as deep as the vast universe. Just by standing there casually, he had an aura that could swallow everything and look down on the world. Facing him, Lu Ming felt like he was facing the entire world. But the next moment, the middle-aged man's aura disappeared, and he looked like an ordinary person. He looked at Lu Ming with a complicated expression. Lu Ming was stunned for a while, then he stepped forward and cupped his fists. Junior Lu Ming greets Senior. You don't have to introduce yourself. I've been watching you for a few years. The middle-aged man's voice was filled with dominance. As expected, Lu Ming thought. He then said, Senior, thank you for saving me this time. Don't be too happy. I didn't want to save you, but I didn't want to waste a drop of 9 dragons' blood essence. The middle-aged man smiled casually. Following that, he sized up Lu Ming carefully and said, Are you very curious and want to know who I am? Where exactly is this place? That's right. Senior, please tell me, Lu Ming said. He was indeed very curious. His achievements today were mostly thanks to the Temple of Paragon. All right, I can tell you, the middle-aged man said. Then, he put his hands behind his back and walked back and forth, as if he was deep in thought. After a while, the middle-aged man said, I'm Supreme 9 Suns. What? Lu Ming's body and mind trembled. His eyes widened, revealing a look of disbelief. You're Supreme 9 Suns from Emperor Heaven Divine Palace? Lu Ming asked. Besides me, is there a second Supreme 9 Suns in the world? The middle-aged man said coldly. Lu Ming gasped a breath of cold air. He was horrified. Supreme 9 Suns was too powerful. It was not an exaggeration to say that his name shook the world. Lu Ming had heard of Supreme 9 Suns before, but to him, Supreme 9 Suns was just a legend. Supreme 9 Suns came from Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. He was the eldest disciple of Emperor Heaven Divine Palace's Emperor Yi. His cultivation was earth-shattering and unparalleled. He was called Supreme 9 Suns, and his cultivation was very close to Martial Emperor realm. He was the invincible god of war of Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. Such a person could destroy Emperor Yun's 36 empires with a flick of his finger. Why would he appear here? Why would he hide in such a palace? Supreme Nine Suns seemed to see Lu Ming's doubts. He sighed and said, "What you see now is not my real body. I'm already dead. This is just a wisp of my soul." "What? You're already dead?" Lu Ming found it hard to believe. With Supreme Nine Suns' cultivation and combat strength, who could kill him? Even a martial emperor might not be able to kill him. "That's right. I'm already dead. The one who killed me is my master, the ruler of Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, Martial Emperor Yi," Supreme Nine Suns said coldly. Lu Ming was shocked and dumbfounded. Supreme Nine Suns was killed by his master, Martial Emperor Yi. How could this be? You must be very surprised, right? Supreme Nine Suns said with a cold smile. That's right. It's quite surprising. Lu Ming did not hide the truth. Ha ha ha. What's there to be surprised about? That old bastard Yi is just a treacherous person. He can do anything. Supreme Nine Suns laughed angrily. His voice was filled with hatred and overflowing killing intent. "Brat, do you want to know why that old bastard Yi killed me? And why you awakened the Nine Dragons' bloodline?" Supreme Nine Suns said. "Nine Dragons' bloodline? Is my bloodline called the Nine Dragons' bloodline? But, what are Nine Dragons?" Lu Ming was very confused. "Of course," he nodded repeatedly. "All right, then I'll tell you everything," Supreme Nine Suns said. Supreme Nine Suns said. Then, he began to explain the entire story to the other party in detail. Nine dragons were extremely ancient and tyrannical life forms. Legend had it that they were a type of true dragon. However, they were different from true dragons. They were mutated true dragons. True dragons had 5 claws. They were called 5-clawed true dragons. However, 9 dragons had 9 claws. They were extremely terrifying and tyrannical. Ordinary true dragons were nothing compared to them. It was said that since ancient times, only one Nine Dragon had appeared in the world. There was an ancient forbidden land in the divine desolate continent. It was said to be the Nine Dragon Ruins. It was extremely dangerous there. Supreme Nine Suns used his powerful strength and horrifying bloodline to enter the Nine Dragon Ruins and obtain some things. Chapter 271. Although Supremacy Ju Yang had come out of the Nine Dragons' historical remnant with 2 drops of blood, he had been injured. However, he had never thought that his teacher, Emperor Yi, would suddenly attack him and severely injure him. Emperor Yi even took away his 9 sons' blood. Moreover, one of the 2 drops of 9 dragon essence blood was taken by Emperor Yi. However, Emperor Yi had underestimated the 9 Suns Sovereign. The 9 Suns Sovereign's 9 Suns bloodline was a divine bloodline. It was extremely mysterious. At the critical moment, the 9 Suns Sovereign had self-destructed his body and bloodline and escaped with the divine palace. At the same time, he had also taken a drop of blood. After that, he had turned the Temple of Supremacy into a bronze pendant to hide from Emperor Yi. After dozens of years, it had fallen into Lu Yuntian's hands. Ha ha ha, now I finally understand. Yi, that hypocrite, took me in as a disciple and taught me martial arts. It was all a scheme from the very start. From the very start, he planned to take away my 9 sons' bloodline. He wanted to use my 9 sons' bloodline to attack that supreme realm. Despicable, treacherous, the most treacherous person in the world is Yi. Supremacy Ju Yang shouted hysterically. His eyes were filled with cold murderous intent. "You were robbed of your 9 sons' blood," whispered Lu Ming. He looked at Supremacy Ju Yang and couldn't help feeling pity for him. Supremacy Ju Yang had gone through the same thing as him. The only difference was that Supremacy Ju Yang had been robbed of his 9 sons' blood by someone he respected, while he had been robbed of his 9 sons' blood by someone he loved. "Kid, you should know by now that the reason why you were able to reawaken your bloodline after it was stolen was because I fused that drop of 9 dragons' blood essence into your body. I did that because your experiences were similar to mine. I wanted to nurture you and make you a peerless genius, a peerless cultivator. That's why I set up stairs in the Temple of Supremacy so that you could grow up step by step. Unfortunately, you disappointed me. You're talented, but you're reckless. Do you know that you almost died just now? Supreme Nine Yang hollered, answering Lu Ming's questions that had been bothering him. Lu Ming came to a sudden realization, but he smiled bitterly. The reason he had fallen into such a desperate situation was entirely because he wanted to save his father. If he could do it all over again, he would still do the same. Little boy, you can only take refuge in the Temple of Paragon this time. Don't do it again. The Temple of Paragon isn't a place for you to take refuge. If you don't face life and death situations, how can you become a peerless cultivator? The inscription formation of the Temple of Paragon won't disappear. You won't be able to enter when it's a matter of life and death. Supreme Nine Yang said with bright eyes. Lu Ming suddenly realized that every time there was a great battle, he couldn't enter the Temple of Paragon because Supreme Nine Yang didn't allow him to. Lu Ming nodded. This was exactly what he wanted. Every peerless powerhouse had been tempered by constant life and death situations. Brat, now that you've fused with the blood essence of the 9 dragons and awakened the bloodline of the 9 dragons, it's incomparably miraculous. You can continuously evolve, and even I don't know how far you'll reach. It can be said that your future is limitless. Supreme Nine Yang said. This is all thanks to Senior's help. Lu Ming cupped his fists and bowed. He couldn't help but look happy. The 9 dragons were even stronger than the true dragon. Now that Lu Ming knew about it, he was naturally happy. Supreme Nine Yang glanced at Lu Ming and sneered, "Little boy, don't be happy too early. Soon, you'll be in big trouble." Lu Ming was stunned and asked, "Senior, what do you mean?" "Back then, I obtained 2 drops of the 9 dragons' blood essence. One of them fell into Die's hands. With Die's cultivation, he must have refined the 9 dragons' blood essence. The 9 dragons' blood essence can sense each other. Your cultivation is still weak now, so Die can't sense you. According to my estimation, once you break through to the martial ancestor realm, Die will be able to sense you instantly. At that time, you'll be robbed of your bloodline again." Supreme Nine Yang said. Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. There was such a thing. What kind of person was Martial Emperor Die? He was a peak expert of the divine desolate continent, an overlord. If he really wanted to kill him, he could kill him tens of thousands of times with just a breath. If Martial Emperor Die discovered the 9 dragons' bloodline in his body, he would definitely die. No one would be able to save him. Could it be that he had to stay in the Martial Grand Master realm for the rest of his life and not break through to the Martial Ancestor realm? No, that was impossible. As a cultivator, the goal of cultivation was to continuously break through and become stronger. If he couldn't break through, it would be worse than killing him. What should I do? Is there no other way? Lu Ming thought quickly. Suddenly, he saw a faint smile on Supreme Nine Yang's face. His eyes lit up as he cupped his fists and asked, "Senior, do you have a way?" "I do have a way, but why should I help you?" Supreme Nine Yang smiled faintly. Lu Ming was stunned. Indeed, why would Supreme Nine Yang help him? "Actually, I can help you as long as you agree to one condition," Supreme Nine Yang suddenly said. Lu Ming's achievements today are all thanks to Senior. "Senior, if you have any conditions, as long as Lu Ming can fulfill them, I will not refuse," Lu Ming said. "All right, my condition is that you have to kill Die and avenge me," Supreme Nine Yang said word by word with a cold murderous intent in his eyes. "Kill Martial Emperor Die?" Lu Ming was shocked. He then said with a wry smile, "Senior, are you kidding me? With my cultivation, even if Martial Emperor Die stood there and let me kill him, I still wouldn't be able to do it." It was not that Lu Ming was not confident, but the gap between them was too big, unimaginable. "I'm not asking you to kill Die now. I want you to promise me that you will kill Die in the future after your cultivation has improved," Supreme Nine Yang said. "In the future?" Lu Ming muttered. "What? You're not confident? Then I've misjudged you. But let me tell you, you and Die will have a battle in the end. It's unavoidable since you merged with the 9 dragons' blood essence. Even if you don't look for him, he will look for you. It's only a matter of time," Supreme Nine Yang said with a cold smile. "Senior, I promise you that I will kill Di one day. Lu Ming suddenly said in a firm and resolute voice. Supreme Nine Yang's eyes glittered, then he burst out laughing. All right, I believe you. Let me tell you, if you can kill Di and take the other drop of his 9 dragons' blood essence, you will gain endless benefits. You can even break through the martial emperor realm and enter a supreme realm. Supreme Nine Yang was extremely excited after Lu Ming agreed. He had set up the stairs in the past few years to train Lu Ming, hoping that he could avenge him in the future. Well, Senior, you know that Di is a martial emperor. It's too difficult to reach that realm. Do you have any benefits for me? For example, divine level martial skills, divine level pills, or divine weapons. Just give me a few dozen of them. Chapter 272. Supreme Nine Yang was someone who was very close to becoming a martial emperor. His battle prowess was even more horrifying. To put it bluntly, a single hair from such a person would be extremely useful. It would not be Lu Ming's character not to take advantage of him. Supreme Nine Yang's eyelids twitched, and his lips trembled. Divine martial techniques. Divine medicinal pills. Dozens of them. What did Lu Ming think divine martial techniques were? Cabbage. Senior, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Why are your lips trembling? Lu Ming asked in surprise. No, nothing. Supreme Nine Yang took a deep breath to calm himself down. He continued, regarding this, I might have to disappoint you. I escaped with a strand of my soul. After I came out, I only brought this temple of supremacy and a drop of 9 dragon essence blood. As for the things I placed on the first few platforms, I obtained them by accident over the years after I escaped. Also, there is nothing on the platforms at the back. I purposely placed a box on each platform to motivate you to work hard. Supreme Nine Yang said somewhat awkwardly. Ah! The platforms at the back are empty. Lu Ming was flabbergasted. He was speechless. After a while, he probed, there are no treasures, but there should be martial techniques. Senior, as Supreme Nine Yang, you should know a lot of martial techniques, right? Can you teach me a few? Cough cough. Supremacy Ju Yang coughed a few times and said, I'm afraid that won't do. Di knows all the martial skills that I've practiced. As long as you practice the martial skills that I've practiced, Di will be able to sense it. A martial emperor is too strong. Lu Ming was completely speechless. So, he agreed to help him take revenge and kill Di, but there were no benefits at all. Sigh, but don't be disappointed. I can't give you what I've practiced, but I can still teach you what I haven't practiced. Back then, I didn't only bring back 2 drops of 9 dragons' blood essence from the 9 dragons' remnants. I also brought back a cultivation method and a martial skill. That cultivation technique is the true battle dragon art that you're cultivating. That's a divine level cultivation technique. There's also another martial skill that's compatible with the true battle dragon art. It's called the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps. That's also a divine level martial skill. Supreme Nine Yang felt a little embarrassed and hurriedly said, What? Is there really a divine tier martial skill? Lu Ming's heart trembled. His eyes emitted a resplendent light, like 2 bright suns. Earlier, when he had mentioned deity-level martial skills and deity-level medicinal pellets, he had simply demanded an exorbitant price. He had never imagined that Supreme Nine Sons would actually possess deity-level martial skills. It was a divine-level martial skill, and from its name, it seemed to be related to the 9 dragons. Supreme Nine Sons waved his hand, and a secret manual flew out from the hall. The secret manual was made of neither gold nor jade, and it was impossible to tell what material it was made of. This is the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps. According to my speculation, it should be a martial skill created by the 9 dragons. Its power is extremely terrifying. Even I haven't practiced it before. You're lucky. Supreme Nine Sons handed the secret manual to Lu Ming. Lu Ming hurriedly took it from him and opened it to read happily. As soon as he opened it, it was as if he saw a real dragon with 9 claws walking in the sky. A terrifying aura was applied to Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming felt intense pain all over his body, as if he was about to be torn apart. At that moment, Supreme Nine Suns waved his hand and closed the secret manual of the 9 Dragons' heaven-stomping steps. The terrifying aura then disappeared. Kid, if your cultivation isn't strong enough, don't open it. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. Supreme Nine Suns said coldly. Lu Ming broke out in cold sweat. This is just a secret manual. Isn't it too terrifying? Kid, this manual contains a hint of the aura of the 9 dragons. Ordinary people would not be able to withstand it. Furthermore, with your current cultivation and the strength of your flesh, it's impossible for you to practice the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. You'll have to wait until your cultivation has reached the first layer martial ancestor realm and your flesh has reached the 4th grade before you can practice it. Supreme Nine Suns warned. Thank you, Senior. Lu Ming carefully put away the 9 Dragons' Heaven-Stomping Steps secret manual. However, he sighed in his heart. This requirement was too high. Lu Ming believed that it wouldn't take long for him to break through to the martial ancestor realm. However, it wouldn't be that easy to reach the 4th grade physical body. Although Lu Ming had reached the complete 3rd grade physical body, it was still very difficult for him to break through to the 4th grade physical body. First, he had to have a technique that could allow him to cultivate to the 4th grade physical body. At the same time, he also needed an opportunity. Otherwise, it would be difficult for him to break through in a few years. I have to meet these conditions as soon as possible. He had a divine grade martial skill in his hand but couldn't cultivate it. This feeling wasn't good at all. All right. Next, I'll help you conceal the aura of the 9 dragons' blood essence. Sit down, relax your mind, and control the bloodline to appear. Supreme Nine Suns instructed. Lu Ming nodded. Then, he sat down cross-legged. His body glowed. The spirit-devouring bloodline, no, it should be called the 9 dragons' bloodline, appeared and quietly floated above Lu Ming's head. Shouted Supremacy 9 Suns. His body emitted a boundless radiance. Then, a sun appeared above his head. However, after a few seconds, another sun floated up. In the next minute, a total of 9 suns floated above Supreme Nine Suns. The 9 suns floated around Supreme Nine Suns like the god of the sun suppress, seal. Supreme Nine Suns shouted. The 9 suns emitted endless light. Then, the endless light surged toward the 9 dragons' bloodline. It covered the 9 dragons' bloodline and formed a seal, sealing the aura of the 9 dragons' bloodline. Half an hour later, the 9 suns around Supreme Nine Suns suddenly disappeared. Supreme Nine Suns trembled and almost fell to the ground. Senior, are you all right? Lu Ming quickly got up and supported Supreme Nine Suns. Supreme Nine Suns' face was pale. His body became much fainter, as if he could disappear at any time. Sealing the 9 dragons' bloodline requires a huge amount of energy. After I seal it for you, you will soon fall into a deep sleep. I don't know when you will wake up. Supreme Nine Suns let out a long sigh. Senior, Lu Ming is unable to repay Senior's kindness. Lu Ming bowed to Supreme Nine Suns sincerely. You only need to avenge me. Also, there is one more thing that I need to tell you. With my strength, I can help you seal the aura of the 9 dragons' bloodline. However, I can only seal it for 10 years. After 10 years, my sealing power will disappear. At that time, Martial Emperor Di will be able to sense you. Therefore, you only have 10 years. In these 10 years, you must continue to break through and grow. At the very least, you must have the ability to escape from Di. Otherwise, everything will be over. Supreme Nine Suns said solemnly. 10 years, only 10 years. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. What's wrong? Are you not confident? Supreme Nine Suns said. Of course, 10 years is enough. Lu Ming's eyes flickered with a hint of battle intent. All right. Now, I will subdue the blood demon. After all, you are still inside its body. Martial Emperor Nine Suns said in a low voice. His body emitted a ripple and disappeared. Then, his hand glowed and a blood-red badge appeared. He gave the badge to Lu Ming and said, "This is the demon suppression badge. Use it to control the blood demon." All right, I've said everything that needs to be said. From now on, you will have to rely on yourself. After saying that, Supreme Nine Yang staggered into the hall. Senior, if Lu Ming succeeds in his cultivation in the future, I will definitely find a way to save you. Lu Ming said. Save me? Even martial emperors can't do that. Chapter 273. Looking at the desolate back view of Supreme Nine Yang, Lu Ming sighed. A supreme being of a generation, a powerful figure who dominated the world, had ended up in this state. It made one sigh. 10 years, 10 years. Lu Ming whispered. It was almost impossible for him to grow to the point where he could compete with Martial Emperor Di in 10 years. The difference was too big. His cultivation was only at the 9th level of the Martial Grandmaster realm. Above the Martial Grandmaster realm were the Martial Ancestor realm, Martial King realm, Spiritual God realm, and Martial Emperor realm. There was a difference of 6 major realms. The difference was too big. No matter how difficult it is, I have to try my best. If I don't try, how will I know it won't work? Lu Ming had a determined look in his eyes. Then, he looked at Xian Yanqing, who was still unconscious. I can't let anyone know about Supreme Nine Yang. Who knows if Martial Emperor Di will find out. I'd better leave this place first. Lu Ming thought. Then, he walked over and grabbed Xian Yanqing. With a thought, they disappeared from the Temple of Paragon. Roar. The blood demon's roar was earth-shattering. Once out of the Temple of Paragon, Lu Ming realized that they were not in the blood demon's stomach, but on its back. The blood demon felt 2 people on its back and was furious. It roared continuously. Blood chi surged and swept toward Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Demon suppression token. Lu Ming waved his hand and the demon suppression token appeared. It floated in the air and an invisible wave spread out, surging toward the blood demon. Roar. The blood demon roared as if it was terrified. It let out a low cry and knelt down in the end. It was obedient. Lu Ming was pleasantly surprised. At the same time, he was amazed by Supreme Nine Yang's means. Supreme Nine Suns was only a remnant soul. Furthermore, in order to help him seal the 9-dragon bloodline, he was already at the end of his rope. Under such circumstances, he could casually condense a demon suppressing token and make the blood demon submit to him. The strength of his methods was already inconceivable. Let's continue. Lu Ming patted the blood demon. Roar. Blood demon growled and continued to run forward. The blood demon was obviously the overlord of this area. With him leading the way, this area was unimpeded. Aya, am I dead? Suddenly, Xian Yanqing shouted and jumped up from the blood demon's back. He looked around with his big black eyes. The next moment, he saw Lu Ming and couldn't help but cry out, Lu Ming, you're dead too? We went to the netherworld together. It's all your fault. Unfortunately, I still have unfulfilled wishes. Xian Yanqing closed his eyes and sighed. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. He was stunned for a while before he said, Who said I'm dead? I'm still alive and kicking. You're not dead. Then why are you with me? I know, did you capture my soul? What are you trying to do? You didn't even let my soul go. You're a despicable, shameless, perverted pervert. As soon as Xian Yanqing heard that Lu Ming was not dead, he began to scold him. His body kept shrinking backward. This, Lu Ming was completely dumbfounded. He stared at Xian Yanqing in a daze. Xian Yanqing also opened his eyes wide and looked at Lu Ming vigilantly. After staring for a while, he realized that something was wrong. He looked around and shouted, I'm not dead either. Oh no, why are we on the blood demon's back? Hurry up and find a way to escape from here. Escape? If you want to escape, then escape. Lu Ming sat there calmly, his face calm and relaxed. You're not escaping. Xian Yanqing looked around and felt that something was wrong. Of course not. With this blood demon leading the way, why do we need to escape? Lu Ming said indifferently. Blood demon leading the way? Wait, what's going on? Why isn't the blood demon attacking us? Xian Yanqing realized that the blood demon had been traveling obediently. It was completely different from the previous time when it attacked them ferociously. Don't worry, I've already subdued it. Lu Ming said indifferently. Subdued by you? How is that possible? How can you subdue this blood demon? Xian Yanqing asked a series of questions. She wouldn't believe it even if she was beaten to death. This blood demon was extremely ferocious and powerful. She estimated that even if it wasn't at the level of a martial king, it wasn't far from it. How could Lu Ming subdue it? How was that possible? However, in the next moment, her beautiful eyes suddenly widened. Lu Ming said lightly, "Little blood, stop." Then, the blood demon stopped and let out a low roar as if to please Lu Ming. "Little blood, lie down." With another light sentence, the blood demon obediently lay down on the ground. Xian Yanqing's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Her small mouth was opened so wide that a duck egg could be stuffed in. Her beautiful face was filled with disbelief. The blood demon had actually been subdued by Lu Ming. Moreover, it was the submissive type. Most importantly, what did Lu Ming call the blood demon? Little blood. Xian Yanqing felt that her mind was in a mess. Ha ha ha, how is it? Don't you admire me? Do you have the urge to marry me? Seeing Xian Yanqing's expression, Lu Ming felt extremely comfortable. He laughed loudly and had a smug expression on his face. His smile was so wide that it almost reached his ears. Promise you my ass. Humph, who knows what despicable method you used to subdue this blood demon? Humph, despicable, shameless, obscene guy. Sooner or later, I will trample you under my feet. Xian Yanqing snorted coldly and glared at Lu Ming. Then, she turned around and did not look at Lu Ming. However, she was still shocked and curious about Lu Ming. She did not know how Lu Ming had subdued the blood demon. Lu Ming smiled. He knew Xian Yanqing's temper and did not bother to argue with her. Then, the blood demon continued on its way. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing sat cross-legged on the blood demon's back and circulated their qi to heal their injuries. About half a day later, the scenery in front of them changed. In front of them, a huge semicircular light curtain enveloped them. Lu Ming and the others were inside this semicircular light curtain. This was a huge inscription array. At this time, Lu Ming knew that the blood demon cave was inside a huge inscription array. No wonder they could not tell the direction as soon as they entered the array. The only difference was that there was a stone door here. This stone door was huge and tightly closed. It was embedded in the light curtain. This stone door might be the exit. Lu Ming guessed. He ordered the blood demon to rush forward. Roar! Roar! Suddenly, two shocking roars came from the huge stone door. The stone door shone and two huge exotic beasts appeared in front of the stone door. These two exotic beasts were huge and emitted a blood-red glow. As soon as they appeared, they stared at Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming's face changed and he shouted, "Little blood, destroy them." Roar! The blood demon roared furiously and rushed toward the two exotic beasts. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing jumped off the blood demon. Suddenly, the three exotic beasts fought with each other. Blood qi surged and the fight was extremely fierce. The two exotic beasts were also very powerful. Unfortunately, they were still inferior to the blood demon. Chapter 274. After the two beasts were killed, there was no more movement from the stone door. "Little blood, break open the stone door," Lu Ming shouted. The blood demon roared and ran toward the stone door. Boom! It hit the stone door heavily, and the stone door shook violently. The whole world seemed to be shaking. However, the stone door did not open. "Continue," Lu Ming shouted. The blood demon continued to attack, and the stone door shook continuously. Finally, it opened a gap. Boom! At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to hear a deafening roar coming from outside the stone door. What's going on? Lu Ming frowned. However, he did not have time to think. He ran forward and shouted, "Let's go out." Xian Yanqing followed closely behind. Roar! At this moment, the sanguine demon roared and stopped in its tracks. A thought was transmitted to Lu Ming's mind. Lu Ming roughly understood what the sanguine demon meant. It was born here and could not get out. Once it got out, it would turn into ashes. Lu Ming felt that it was a pity. If such a powerful blood demon followed them out, he would be able to defeat the Blazing Sun Empire and even the Shifang Sword faction. What a pity! Lu Ming roared in his mind, but there was nothing he could do. He could only leave the blood demon and run toward the stone door with Xian Yanqing. The stone door was too big. Although it was only a gap, it was enough for the two of them to pass through. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two of them were like the wind. When they passed through the stone door, they felt the world spinning. The next moment, they found themselves standing on a hill. Behind them, there was a blood-red mist. It was the Blood Demon Cave. In front of them, there were green mountains and clear waters. However, at this moment, the mountain in front of them shook. A blood-red beam of light shot up into the sky. It could be seen from 100 miles away. Rumble. On the side, another mountain shook. Then, another blood-red beam of light shot out, stirring up the wind and clouds. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were dumbfounded. Where was this? Why did it look so unfamiliar? Furthermore, could it be that this blood-red pillar of light was caused by them opening the giant stone door? Whoosh! Whoosh! At that moment, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. Then, a few figures appeared in the sky. They were a few middle-aged burly men. Their auras were as thick as mountains. It was obvious that they were all martial arts grandmasters. Something is happening outside the Blood Domain Devil Cave. Could it be that a rare treasure has appeared? Hurry and inform the sect. The few burly men whispered. Then, they stepped into the air and disappeared. However, not long after, more people arrived. Some of them were flying through the air. They were all strong cultivators of the martial ancestor realm. There were also some great martial teachers. Through these people's conversations, Lu Ming learned a fact that left him dumbfounded. This place was not within the Burning Sun Empire, but on the other side of the desolate wasteland, the border between the Blood Jiao Empire and the Dark Moon Empire. Lu Ming and the others had actually run in the wrong direction. Lu Ming didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He and Xian Yanqing stared at each other. Rumble. The tremors became more and more intense. In the end, a total of 9 blood-colored light pillars appeared and shot into the sky. At this time, more than 100 people had gathered. This place is most likely the remains of the ancient sect, Cloud Emperor Palace. A white-haired elder in the sky speculated. What? It's the ancient sect, Cloud Emperor Palace? Some people were shocked and puzzled. That's a senior from the Great Sun Constabulary. His speculation shouldn't be wrong. That's right. The Great Sun Constabulary is the #1 sect in the Blood Jiao Empire. It has existed for a long time and is knowledgeable. I can't wait. Haha, this is a great opportunity. Nearby, some people were discussing excitedly. The ancient sect, Cloud Emperor Palace. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The Cloud Emperor Mountain Range was called the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range because of Cloud Emperor Palace. This showed how powerful Cloud Emperor Palace was. If this place was the remains of Cloud Emperor Palace, Lu Ming would definitely explore it. He didn't want to miss it. Everyone waited quietly. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing sat cross-legged on the side, healing their injuries and waiting. As time passed, more and more people arrived. Obviously, the news had spread. 7 days later, there was a sea of people in all directions. Even the sky was filled with people. There were people from the Blood Jiao Empire and the Yinyu Empire. Of course, most of them were from the Blood Jiao Empire. Lu Ming sighed inwardly. The Blood Jiao Empire was indeed powerful. Those standing in the sky were all grandmasters. There were at least 1,000 of them. The Blood Jiao Empire was indeed a medium-sized empire. It was terrifying. There are hundreds of experts from the Great Sun Constabulary and their core elders. It seems like we won't get a share of Cloud Emperor Palace's remains. Yeah, there are many experts from the other sects in the Blood Jiao Empire. The Yinyu Empire's imperial family is also here. There are many young experts, such as the 50 superstars of the Blood Jiao Empire and the 9 heroes of the Yinyu Empire. Discussions could be heard from time to time. Caw. At this moment, a sharp cry resounded in the sky. It was extremely ear-piercing. Then, a giant crow appeared in the sky. The crow was extremely large. Its wingspan was 30 meters. Its body was covered in blazing flames and its demonic aura was extremely terrifying. It was a Class 4 demonic beast. A Class 4 demonic beast was equivalent to a martial ancestor martial artist. A young man in his 20s stood on the back of the crow. He was wearing a fiery red robe with a large sun embroidered on it. He had his hands behind his back and looked at the blood-red light pillars. He had an aura of disdain. Yang Liuji, this is Yang Liuji, the 33rd on the Emperor Yun leaderboard. Other than him, who else could it be? Even the geniuses on the Emperor Yun leaderboard are here. There was a commotion in the crowd. Obviously, Yang Liuji's name had shaken everyone. 33rd on the Emperor Yun leaderboard. Is this person stronger than Qiu Changkong? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The 36 geniuses on the Emperor Yun leaderboard could be said to be the strongest of their generation in the 36 countries of Emperor Yun. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days had passed. At this time, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing had already recovered from their injuries. Boom! Suddenly, the 9 blood-red light pillars let out a violent roar and shone brightly. They then gathered together. After a while, the blood-red light disappeared and a giant black vortex appeared in the sky. The space teleportation path will lead to the remains of Emperor Yun Palace. Charge! Suddenly, dozens of people charged into the vortex. Ah! Ah! In the next moment, screams were heard. Among the dozens of people, more than half of their bodies suddenly exploded. Their flesh and blood splattered all over the ground. However, the other half of the people rushed into the whirlpool and disappeared. What's going on? How can this be? Why did some people die and others charge into the vortex? What are the restrictions? Everyone stopped and did not dare to charge into the vortex. A white-haired elder appeared in front of the vortex and observed it carefully. Everyone recognized that he was a core elder of the Great Sun Constabulary. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.